You're watching Better Business Bureau's Business at its Best, brought to you by Ataraxis. You've got employees, we've got solutions. Human resources, insurance, benefits, and payroll. Our business is your business. BBB's Business at its Best.
Do you believe business should be ethical, and when people support ethical companies, the economy can only get better? That's exactly why Better Business Bureau exists. BBB helps you choose and recommend trustworthy businesses and charities. Business at its Best is all about helping people and companies build trust. On today's show, when you are under stress, you're under pressure, or you're just plain tired, you subconsciously overextend your strengths and you lessen your effectiveness. Internationally recognized business advisor, speaker, and author Ron Price shows us how to listen for the feedback, those light bulbs from others that we've possibly veered off course. We also look at the business model of an Idaho nonprofit in the business of making dreams come true, and see how a gem state business takes its product to a global market. Business at its Best is possible because of our media partners. We're on great stations, including Eastern Idaho's local news 8's Now channel and Southern and Western Idaho's KTVB, Idaho's very own 24/7. Well, you may have heard the saying that sometimes a person's strengths can also be their greatest weakness. The challenge, figuring out when your best attributes turn into harmful behaviors. Ron Price of Price Associates joins us. Ron, thanks so much for being with us.
It's great to be here, Dale.
Quick background on what Price Associates does.
We're a consulting firm that focuses on leadership development. We work with small to medium-sized businesses here in the U.S., and then we have a global reach where we work with multinational companies that are developing their new leaders.
And I received an email from you this week that talked about this idea of losing effectiveness when we overextend our strengths. Tell me, what does that really look like for folks sitting at home?
Well, let's start with the good news. The good news is that we all have strengths.
Yes.
And those strengths are really the key to our potential in the way that we build our career, the way that we impact the organizations that we work for, or the way that we impact our family. However, when we get under stress, there's a tendency for us to want to go deeper into that strength as a way of coping with the environment around us. Okay. And so we would say that the one weakness that we all share is when we overextend our strength. We depend on it too much and it becomes an obstacle instead of a help.
It really requires you knowing what your strengths are.
You sort of have to know where that border is.
Yeah.
And the real key is to be able to watch the environment around you and begin to recognize when what you're trying to accomplish isn't working using that strength, that you need to try a different approach.
And you use something called a DISC assessment.
We use a behavioral style assessment that was based on work that was done at Harvard back in the 30s. And this assessment helps us to identify how people respond to problems and how they influence other people and how they deal with change, and then how they respond to rules and procedures and things like that.
It's a great graphical look, though, at how we can cross the line and take our strength into that weakness area.
Yeah, and actually...
So we have it folks at home to look at. Real
Good,
quick.
And what we're looking at right now is showing that somebody who gets a lot of behavioral energy from one of these dimensions. So the first one, the person who directs too much, their strength is...
And that would be the D in the upper right corner on your screen.
Yes, and their strength is that they love problems and challenges. They get all juiced up, they get energized, and they're conquerors. And that's a great strength, and a lot of entrepreneurs are that way. But when you get under a lot of pressure, you go deeper into that to try to control the circumstance, and you direct too much, and you usually end up damaging other people in the process.
So what are some ways then that we can have people help us be aware of when we're getting into this territory and crossing the line?
Well, I think one of the problems that we have with most of our award ceremonies in the world today is they all focus on an individual. And it's never an individual. It's always that entrepreneur and their team, or that executive, or that community leader and their team. And that team, if they can have the kind of relationship where they give honest feedback when that person is going too far in their strengths, it doesn't take very much to correct them. So a lot of the executives that we work with, we identify that strength that they will tend to overextend, and then we teach their team to use some kind of a nonverbal signal. It may be a pull of the ear, it may be putting their finger on their nose, it may be crying, but we give them a nonverbal signal so they don't have to have a conversation. That little bit of a message gets everybody chuckling, and it gets the leader recognizing that they're probably going a little too far.
Going too far, pushing too hard.
Yes.
If it's the D. All right. Ron Price, Price Associates. Folks want to find you online?
They can go to price-associates.com.
All right. Thank you so much for that great information for us. And coming up later on Business at its Best, the Idaho company made a name for itself in the luxury skincare market. Now the product is hot overseas. See what it means to seize opportunities to open up new markets. First, what if by devoting just one single focused hour a week, you could make some big improvements in your professional life. Author and speaker Dave Lakhani drops by with his plan to get you productive. You are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. We are on TV in great Idaho towns all along the Snake River Plain, from Jackson Hole, Wyoming to Ontario, Oregon. And Ataraxis makes this program possible each week. The company takes care of those day-to-day work of HR and benefits and payroll, so a business owner can focus on growing the business. Dave Lakhani, the author of Power of an Hour, Business and Life Mastery in 1 hour a week, joins us. Dave's also with Ataraxis. So good to have you with us once again. And this idea, I'm going to tell you, I have been implementing this past week, and it's amazing what happens when you break up an hour into a 45-minute and a 15-second increment. But for the folks at home, what is the power of an hour, and how does that work?
The power of an hour is focusing completely in an hour. We oftentimes, you've probably had the experience of getting in the flow or getting in a role or something like that. And whenever you do that, you're so productive during those times. And this is just creating those times for you to do that effectively. What happens is most of us think we're good multitaskers, and all of the current neuroscience shows that we're actually very bad multitaskers and that our brains are not designed that way. So the power of an hour focuses over the extent of a period of time that we can best focus, which is 45 minutes. During that time, we cut out all distractions, no phones, no email, no nothing, unless that's what you're doing, and focus only on one thing at a time. At the end of that 45 minutes, for the next 15 minutes, that's when you go get a drink of water, run to the bathroom, do all those kind of things, and then you can refocus. Encourage people to start out with one power hour at a time, and then build up to more as they go.
And even for clearing out the email, it was amazing.
Absolutely.
What I did in that 45 minutes when everything else went off, and it was mostly delete, respond, respond, and just power through it. So the question is, specifically, I have an open door policy. My team knows anytime they need something, they can pop their head in, and that's when it really gets tough to stay on task in those situations. So what kind of conversations do you have with those around you to be sure that you stay focused for that 45 minutes?
That's a really important question. You have to let people know that your open door policy still exists, except during that time. Unless the building's burning down or there is some major business issue that can't wait for your attention for 45 minutes, you're to be uninterrupted during those times. We call those red flag moments. We actually hang a red flag up on the door and say, during this time, unless it's a vital emergency, no interruptions. And you just let them know that you will be, during that 45 minutes, unavailable, but you'll be available to them as normal as soon as that 45 minutes is done. And you condition them during those times when the red flags are up that you're unavailable. But here's the next trick, is that you teach them to do that themselves so that they can also be productive. And what we find is when people engage in this behavior, the first few times they do it, they almost can't fill up the 45 minutes. They get so much done in 45 minutes when there's no distractions and they're only focusing on one thing that they're done before their 45 minutes are up and they don't know what to do next.
That's an amazing opportunity then to grow in that area for the 45 minutes. Now, one of the ways that I help keep myself focused is I use the clock on my phone. It's a countdown timer. I set it at 45 minutes. I hit stop and I don't stop until I hear the bell go off.
Right.
Some other ways that people can stay focused on that and not be tempted to look at the email inbox or answer the phone.
So there's some great programs. If you just search for programs online that will actually lock your computer for a period of time, you're unable to use anything on the computer except maybe a single program like a word processor. But it locks down your browser, it locks down games, it locks down email, and all of those things. So you're unable to use it for that defined period of time. Very powerful for conditioning yourself during those times. But doing something like a clock, like you're talking about, having a simple egg timer, all of those things work perfectly.
It's about accountability.
Accountability.
Perfect. All right, Dave Lakhani with Ataraxis. Thanks so much. The book, Power of an Hour.
Power of an Hour.
All right. It's available on Amazon as well. And coming up next, it's challenging enough for a business to build trust with its customers, but think of the challenge for a charity. We're going to take a look at the trust-building lessons learned. You are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Better Business Bureau helps people choose trustworthy companies, and BBB helps businesses sell ethically. To do that, we have 6 standards for trust. It's how we expect ethical businesses to act in the marketplace. Advertising honestly, telling the truth, being transparent, being responsive, safeguarding privacy, and honoring promises are those BBB standards for trust. If you are a customer, it's what to watch for. And if you own or manage a business, It's how to behave. BBB also reports on charities and encourages you to research a nonprofit before you give. Idaho's Make-A-Wish Foundation has worked hard to earn a trusted reputation in the state. Larry Flynn joins us from the organization. Larry, thanks so much for being with you.
Thanks for having
with us,
me, Dale.
I should say. And it's you have been with this organization as a board member and a fundraising role for a number of years.
Yes, I have, and only
statewide.
recently came on board as the Director of Development.
And for those folks who are watching might not know exactly what Make-A-Wish does, tell us about the organization.
Make-A-Wish Idaho is one of over 60 chapters across the United States that grants the wishes of Idaho children that have been diagnosed with a life-threatening medical condition. Last year we granted over 90 wishes throughout the state of Idaho, and they work really on 4 different wish types. There's I wish to be, I wish to go, I wish to have, and I wish to meet. And just last week, we granted a wish to have a puppy.
Have a puppy.
Yes.
As simple as that.
It was really that simple, but really going through the process to get that puppy into the child's lap was quite a process. It took quite a long time to get the exact puppy that child wanted, but it was a lot of fun to do.
The life-changing stories that you can tell, just amazing.
It is amazing, and we couldn't do it without the incredible number of volunteers that we have. They're very loving, and the wish is always done with wish granters, and they are volunteers. And so the wish granters go to the wish family and they determine what that child would like as a wish, and then they get to work on it.
Let's talk about the business model, because running a nonprofit is like a business. I know BBB is a nonprofit, but we're running this like a business. What are some of those customer service standards that you use within the business to run it like a business?
Well, obviously, without a doubt, the donor is our partner in meeting the mission of Make-A-Wish Foundation of Idaho. It's a daily task for us to ensure that we're good stewards with every dollar that's donated. Integrity is a high value that we work with day to day to ensure that we're giving our customer, which is not only the donor but also the wish family and the wish child ultimately, the very best possible experience that they can have. Many times we try to bring together the donor and the wish family so that they can together share the power of a wish.
How do you approach the idea of building trust and maintaining trust, especially when you're approaching a new volunteer, a new donor?
Great question, and obviously, like I said, integrity is a key value to us at the Idaho chapter. By operating with integrity, wish families, volunteers, as well as the donors know that we have given them the utmost respect, and they've given us trust, and that we're good stewards, as I said, and fiscally responsible with every dollar that's donated. We pride ourselves in the fact that we're frugal. As a matter of fact, in 2010, we were the recipients of the BBB Integrity Council Award, and we're very proud of that. But everything always comes down to the mission. It's all about the kids.
Now, you have an event coming up in September.
Yes, we do.
Tell us about that.
It's the 10th annual Serving Up Wishes. It's a great partnership with Boise State student athletes. Over the last 10 years, there have been over 200 wishes granted just through this event alone. Over 800 student athletes have participated. This year it's on September 4th.
Oh, wow.
Tuesday, September 4th. Yeah. It's about 5 weeks sooner than previous years. About 400 guests come out and support an incredible event that is just full of action and activities. 80 student athletes from every one of the NC2A sports at Boise State participate, and they just have a ball. They compete for Wish Bucks. So guests buy Wish Bucks, and the student athletes will do everything from the football team will sing a song to your table, or the gymnast will do a hand walk across their table. It's
big
a great
fun
dinner
every year.
And a big auction as well.
And the date once more.
It is Tuesday, September 4th.
All right, perfect. Larry Flynn, Make-A-Wish Foundation of Idaho. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Dale.
And Better Business Bureau has a number of resources to help your company be the best it can be. Check out our website. It's bbb.org. Also, we'd love it if you go to Facebook and do a search under Snake River BBB. Hit the like button. Coming up later on Business at its Best, see how a high-end skincare company in Idaho seized an opportunity to open an overseas market, first making room for the old technology to keep you safe. You're watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best, a program from Better Business Bureau that shows you the types of businesses that have earned the BBB accredited trust seal and what it means to you. You know, part of building trust with customers is showing that you are safeguarding personal information. Just this past week, I was in a business, and the person in front of me, they pulled out a checkbook and they actually wrote a check. Well, Federal rules called Check 21 change the way companies have to handle those paper checks, even if they are few and far between. Dr. Bill Russell with Northwest Nazarene University joins us today. Thank you so much for being with us. And let's talk about this Check 21, what it means, and why businesses need to be aware of this.
Well, you know, for the last few years, we've been operating under a new federal law, and nobody talks about it much. And you may have seen signs of it. For example, you know now that when you get your receipt, your statement back from your bank, you don't get your checks anymore.
Nope.
You get pictures of checks. What Check 21, a federal law, did was it said that a picture, a digital image of a check, is the same as the check for all legal purposes. So if you hand a check to a merchant, they can take that check, take a picture of it, and the picture serves as the check. They can destroy the check.
You hope they destroy the check.
You hope they destroy the check, but you need to make sure. If they're careless about it, your check may end up someplace that you don't want it. By the same token, if they send the check on to the banks, which they can do if they choose, the banks may destroy the checks and just rely upon the digital image, because the image is the check under Check 21.
So that really needs to be a question that you ask. If you're still in the habit of writing a check to a business or writing a check to anybody, the question is, what are you going to do with that check?
And you need to be aware of that all the time. The reality of this is that checks are going to go away.
Yeah.
They became more and more dangerous because they're going to be useless except as trash, and we all know that trash can cause problems.
The only thing, it has your checking account number, your signature on it.
That's right. So you may go to Walmart, and Walmart may get thousands of checks a day. They'd prefer not to take those checks and carry them to the bank. That's a hassle. Instead, they feed them through a machine. It pictures them. They send that to the bank, and then they destroy them. Now, Walmart probably cross-shreds them or burns them or something, but there are a lot of smaller businesses that probably don't, and that's a real risk.
And let's talk specifically about the risk that poses to a business, because if a business has that type of information and loses it, the business
can be liable. But more to the point, the customer or the business writing a check to another business can be exposed for identity theft. All sorts of problems can follow from that.
It could be really expensive.
That's right. So checks, it used to be that if you gave a check to a merchant, they had to take it to the bank, and the bank kept it and sent it back to you. No more.
This is going to age me, but I remember the day when you would put a Social Security number on a check.
Oh yeah,
just
don't
to prove
do that.
Yeah, and absolutely, if that's happening now, definitely get rid of that. But just be aware if you're writing checks of what's going on.
Yeah, and the best advice is to understand that checks are going to go away. You might as well get ready for that. So
absolutely.
if you're used to the habit of carrying checks and using them, start to change your habits because they're becoming outdated.
Dr. Bill Russell, NNU, thanks so much for being with us. Excellent advice. And coming up next on Business at its Best, an Idaho company seizes an opportunity of opening a new market overseas. See the result when Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis, returns. Welcome back to Business at its Best. We are spending some time now showing you how one Idaho company is working to seize new opportunities by creating a name for itself in the skincare industry from an international standpoint. Epionce is taking that brand overseas and finding success.
When I started the company, I had in my mind not just starting a company based on one product, but also 14 products that were really needed by skincare professionals and dermatologists to help them do a better job that would be based on our platform. I needed a lot of refinement, and as I went to a number of consultants, the common thread was, well, you really need to do it in LA or New York, you need a massive marketing budget, you need to do this and do that. And I said, you know, I don't think so. I was really convinced that this was life-changing. And I knew it was going to be, it was going to take perseverance, it was going to take commitment, and it was going to be for the long haul. And I find that writing a business plan was very helpful for me, for the discipline of making you think about not just the potential growth, but the steps of how you're going to get there, what kind of personnel you're going to need, because you know it's one of your biggest assets. It's not just total capital, but your capital is also your people. So there's capitalization, there's resources, and then there's the management. Difficult things is to have people understand what you're seeing down the road. You know, many of us are tactical type of business people, others are strategic, and when you start a small business you have to have both. And so consequently you have to surround yourself not with yes people, people that see the vision, but that have the different strengths and are willing to challenge you. the most important aspect, is having a passion that you're going to go the extra mile, spend the extra time, because you will have sleepless nights. You will have to extend yourself financially. You will have impacts on necessarily reducing what you want to do. It's going to be a sacrifice. First of all, you need to really assess what the marketing opportunity is out there. In other words, is there a real need for this, and what need are you filling? You really need to be focused on then building all the other decisions around what it takes to achieve that need. So then it was a matter of how to complete the steps to get to that and get the product in the market. And what that also means, though, is I have to be willing to say, you know, I put these people in this position, I respect them for these specific skill sets, I need to listen to them. And it's been many times that they have, so to speak, saved my bacon. It still boiled down to, I saw an opportunity. It was against the traditional paradigm, but I felt that there was enough to do, that there was enough to take the risk for. And I understood that it was going to be a huge risk.
Here's a quick recap of what we learned on today's show. Ron Price shared with us the importance of knowing how to constantly monitor our strengths to be sure it doesn't turn into a weakness. Learn how to manage your stress. What can you accomplish by setting aside 1 hour of high intensity, uninterrupted productivity in a day? We learned how to do that. And Idaho's Make-A-Wish Foundation gives us a lesson in building trust through honesty and transparency. Integrity, a word that was repeated several times. Finally, always remember, Better Business Bureau helps people find and recommend Idaho's most trusted businesses and charities. Be sure to check with bbb.org before you buy or give.